Rutter from McKee's37.com. In today's video, I'm going to showcase how to completely prep and graphene ceramic coat your brand new vehicle. The steps and the products along with the process are applicable to an experienced detailer or if you're a novice. So sit tight and stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through the washing process, the chemical decontamination, the mechanical decontamination, the polishing, the prepping, and the coating. But first, I gotta grab my stuff, so hang tight. And the vehicle that I'm working on today is a brand spanking new Camaro ZL1. This car has 650 horsepower, it's supercharged, and frankly, this paint is beautiful. But first and foremost, you might be wondering, well, what is a graphene ceramic coating and why do I need it? Well, here's the deal. When you have a new car or even a used car, you want to apply something to the paint to protect it against environmental pollutants and Mother Earth. You have multiple choices. You have waxes, you have sealants, you have ceramic coatings. Well, a graphene ceramic coating is like an SiO2 ceramic coating on steroids. It's much, much stronger, and the products and the process that I'm going to show you is something that you can do in the comfort of your own garage. You don't have to have any experience besides watching this video, and frankly, it's a much better option than what you'll find at the finance office when you're buying the vehicle. As they walk you through the step-by-step process for the fancy wax that they put on the car, you have to come back, then you pay interest on it with your payments. It's just do it yourself, save a ton of money. And this is also the same process that a professional detailer would use and charge you several $1,000s. So first and foremost, any good detail starts with a proper wash. Now, I have the car set up, I have my hose ready to go, my Carolina detailing cart. I love this guy because as someone that's experienced 2 back injuries, I really appreciate the fact that I don't have to bend over to reload my wash mitt. The older I get, the smarter I become, and I work smarter and not harder. So I have my bucket set up here, and I'm going to wash the vehicle using McKee's 37 Coating Prep Auto Wash. This is an alkaline formula, and what it does is it helps strip off any kind of detail sprays or maybe some waxes that the dealership applied when the vehicle was on the showroom floor, and also any kind of road film that accumulated as the vehicle was transported by rail car or on the back of a semi-truck. So I got my bucket set up here, and I'm going to squirt some in. The first thing you'll notice about this wash is that it's really thin viscosity, and that's perfectly normal. It doesn't have any thickening agents. All that's in this formula are cleaners and mild degreasers. Then I'll use my grit guard insert to stir up the solution. And a grit guard sits at the bottom of the wash bucket, and if you're not familiar with this tool, what it does is it traps dirt and grit so it doesn't swirl back up in your wash mitt. So you take your wash mitt, you agitate it, dirt's released, and it stays trapped. Awesome invention by a great company, and they're made in the USA. Now, every time I wash a car, I like to use a foam gun. Not only is the foam gun more effective than just a bucket by itself, it's also fun. If you're a control freak like I am with the car, you can let your kids do this. They have fun, or you let your wife do it. It's very safe, it's very effective, and it's fun for the whole family. So I have my foam gun set up here. This hooks up to any standard garden hose. And what I'll do is I filled it with water already, and then I'll add some soap in there. And this allows you to cover the vehicle in mountains of thick, frothy foam. And then I'll take my top here, and there's a siphon tube. Make sure you have that attached. That sucks up the solution. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then there's an adjustment meter right here with different size holes. It's really important that, number one, it's engaged in a hole. There's a real satisfying click, but you also want to make sure you have it in the largest hole. That's really important. When you buy one of these, the whole intent is to have lots and lots of foam, so have it on the largest hole. My solution's ready to go, and the foam gun that you purchase from us includes a nozzle with a brass quick connect. This is a long-lasting foam gun. This is not the inexpensive, all-plastic ones that'll break if you drop them, or they only last one summer. So I have that ready to go. And the next step, before I even wash the car, is I'm going to chemically decontaminate the paint using an iron remover. Now, this step is imperative, even for a brand new car like the ZL1. This vehicle was manufactured in Michigan, and then it's either transported via rail car or in the back of a semi-truck, and what happens is iron contamination is in the air, and it lands on the paint, and it's corrosive. So even for a brand new car that has 0 miles on it, you have to use an iron remover. So take the product, and the way I'm working on this Camaro is I have all my stuff ready to go. It's really important that this chemical does not dry in the paint. Of all the iron removers in the market, this is by far the safest, and it's also the least offensive smelling. So the way I'm doing it is the sun is on that side, so I'm going to spray this part of the vehicle first that's in the shade. If I start with the side in the sun, then the product is more likely to dry. So I take the product and you simply mist it on. And this will go on all exterior surfaces. And I'd like to mention that I already cleaned the wheels and tires. And if you want more detailed information on that process, we have a lot of videos that cover wheel and tire care. But using this is really simple. You spray it on, you let it dwell for a minute or two. And what will happen is, as this breaks up and dissolves the iron particles, it actually changes colors from clear to red. But with that being said, this is a red car, so it'll be pretty hard to see. I have other videos where I showcase using the product on white and silver cars. You can see it a lot better. And like I mentioned, of all the iron removers in the market, this one is the least offensive smelling because our chemist is the best in the industry, and the other guys, what happens is they don't remove all the bad stuff, so we're able to extract all the corrosive components that make a product like this smell bad to begin with. So it's quality chemistry, and it leads to a much better user experience because frankly, some of these in the market, they smell really, really bad. Once you've completely covered the vehicle with the extreme iron remover, now it's time to use the foam gun. So as you recall, I had everything set up and ready to go. Give my foam gun a good shake, and move my cart out of the way. And I want to start foaming on the side of the vehicle that's in the sun. And the reason why is you don't want the iron remover to dry on the surface. So you want to wet it down with the foam gun. And the Coating Prep Auto Wash, it produces a ton of foam. And like I said, it's fun for the family, so if you have kids, or even your wife, let them foam it down. It's really fun for everybody. Make sure you have your nozzle securely on there. Man, I love using the foam gun. Makes me smile every time. So the car is completely covered in foam. Oh, I missed a spot. I'm finished with the foam gun. I'm going to remove the foam gun from the actual hose, and now I'm going to wash it. But first, I want to reactivate my suds using my nozzle. And this is really important. When you have a new car, this is the time when you want to invest in new wash mitts and new drying towels. Don't use the wash mitt that you bought for your car a couple years ago. Get new drying towels and wash mitts. It's inexpensive insurance to make sure you don't scratch the vehicle. So I've got my wash mitt loaded up here with soap. And start at the top and work your way down. And always wash the sun side first when you're using a McKee's 37 wash. And the reason why is water creates water spots, but soap does not create water spots. But do not try this with any regular wash because what will happen is you'll stain the paint. With McKee's 37, since we're in Stuart, Florida, where it's very sunny and very warm, we developed all these products to be sunlight friendly, meaning you have a longer window of time before you have to worry about any damage being incurred. Okay, once you've completely washed the car, it's time to rinse it off. Rinse off the side in the sun last to prevent any water spots. One thing I really appreciate about our coating prep auto wash is that it rinses really freely off the surface. There's no film left behind. Now I want to point something out. When you look at this hood, you see nice, tight, round water beads. This is why it's so important that you polish even a brand new car, because normally this wouldn't be the case. What this tells me is that before my good friend bought this car, someone else likely had all the paperwork signed, they applied some type of dealership synthetic sealant, and then the guy backed out, and now my friend bought the car. So that's why later on, the following steps, we're going to polish. When we polish, it'll take care of any kind of wax or sealant on the surface, because the coating will not properly adhere if the surface is not perfectly squeaky clean. And something else about this car, I mentioned with the iron remover, you'll see it change colors from clear to red as it bleeds. Well, with this car being red, you don't really see that. However, one way you can tell is when you rinse everything off, there might be some runoff on the ground, but this thing is not even bleeding at all. So if I had to guess, when this car was transported, they actually had it completely wrapped up, which they usually do for higher end cars. If you buy a new Chevrolet Malibu, they don't really wrap them up. They might wrap certain pieces, but with this being a $65,000, $70,000 car, they probably had it completely protected, which when it's like that, it helps it resist any iron buildup, but it's still imperative that you perform that step because, frankly, you never know. And even though you don't always see it, the product is still working. Once everything is rinsed off, it's time to dry the vehicle. And just like I mentioned with the wash tool, with the mitt, this is when you want to purchase new drying towels. Really step up your game because you don't want to scratch the surface. I'm using a Glacier 1100 drying towel. This is a split weave fiber. It's very soft, it's very absorbent, and it's actually two towels sewn together, and it's a whopping 1100 GSM. This towel is so thirsty, it'll dry the whole vehicle, and you won't even have to wring it out. So this is the 20 by 30 size. And here's a tip or a technique for you. When you're drying a brand new car and there's no protection on it, instead of taking the towel and wiping the surface, it's really good practice to use the blotting method. And the reason why is because when there's no protection on there, you're going to feel the friction on the surface. Well, with the blotting method, you're not actually dragging the towel or rubbing it. However, if you perform this process, be mindful of the sun because it takes longer to dry using this technique instead of just taking the towel and swiping the whole side of the car. So you can see just a few blots and the contamination, or excuse me, the water is gone. And it's nice and dry. Beautiful. Once the car is completely washed and dried, you can clearly inspect its condition because the remnants of the previously applied wax or sealant is either completely removed or significantly broke down. And then the next step is you want to pull the car inside in a garage, and I'm going to show you other drying tips to blast out water from the cracks and crevices using heated, filtered air. That way, you're not dealing with annoying water drips as you polish the paint. So I'm going to grab my stuff, pull this bad boy inside, and I'll see you then. Now the vehicle's in the garage because I've washed it and I've dried it outside, but here's something that we've all dealt with, and that's annoying water droplets after drying your vehicle. Whether you dry the car, you pull it in the garage, and then you start polishing, and you see water running down from emblems and in between crevices and body panels. Or if you just dry the car, you pull it in the garage, hey, it looks great, and then you shut the door, or you go out to the car a couple hours later, and you have drips of water. Now, these drips of water, they can actually leave watermarks. So I'm going to show you how to remove excess water from hard-to-reach areas where a drying towel will not fit using the mini car dryer by McKee's 37. This bad boy is compact, lightweight, it's made in USA, it's powder coated, it blows heated and filtered air, there's a filter right there, and then the motor, after the air passes through the intake, the motor naturally heats it, and then it comes out of this nozzle. And this is a rubber tip nozzle, so God forbid, if contact accidentally occurs, you're less likely to cause any damage. So this is one of the best investments that you can make in your garage for detailing. Plus, if you have pets, you can actually use it to dry your pets too after a bath or a shower. So using it is really simple. It has a 25-foot power cord, which is really nice. And I have my Glacier 1100 drying towel. And basically you just turn it on, aim it where you want the water to blast out of, and sit back and check this out. So the next step after drying the vehicle is to mechanically decontaminate the paint. If you recall, during the wash process, we chemically decontaminated the paint by using our coating prep auto wash as well as our extreme iron remover. The clay bar removes bonded surface contamination. And again, to follow the same theme, even a brand new car needs to be clayed. Now you have a couple options for claying the vehicle. You have a clay bar, which I'm going to showcase here, and then you have synthetic clay alternatives, which I've showcased in other videos. For a car like this, I want to use a traditional clay bar because I really want to just feel the paint. It's more personable, it's more tactile for your hands. And overall, I mean, I'm a car guy, and this is a sweet car, so it's just getting my hands all over it. So the way a clay bar works is you have a clay patty, and inside this patty, there's an abrasive. And through the act of friction, by rubbing it across the surface using a lubricant, any bonded contaminants that are not removed during the wash process, the clay essentially shaves them off, and then they stick to the bar. And the bar is tacky, so after you clay a section, you reknead it, therefore trapping the contamination. So you have a clay bar. What you want to do is make a patty out of it. And even a skinny guy like me can do this. Just put it in the palm of your hand and squeeze it together. And I shouldn't say skinny, what I mean is fit. A fit guy like me can do this. Then you have the clay patty right there. And there's a lot of clay bars in the market. The McKee's 37 clay bar, it's extremely high quality. This is not something that you want to, go online to an auction site and buy something really inexpensive. Pick a high quality product because this is your brand new car, whether it's a $70,000 Camaro or it's a $10,000 used Hyundai, whatever it is, get the good stuff. So take the lubricant, and you want to make sure you have ample lubrication on the surface. And this is McKee's 37 universal clay lubricant, and this was designed for use with a clay bar. So some companies will use a detail spray, and to be honest with you, that works. However, since I'm going through this entire process, I want to use a dedicated lubricant because I know it's not going to cause any damage to the clay bar. Plus, the clay lubricant actually has some cleaners built in, so if you get any residue on the clay bar, it'll wipe it right up. So I have the surface saturated. I'll spray the bar. And then when you use this, you want to hold it in your palm right here. And the reason why is because if you hold it with your fingers like that, as you rub the bar, your fingers will make their way through. So palm of my hand, and I'm simply going to rub back and forth using a fast hand motion. This is not something that you do slowly, back and forth. And initially, you'll feel it grab. As it's grabbing, it's removing the bonded surface contamination. Once it glides freely, that means that the area has been clayed. Rub back and forth until it glides freely. And then what you want to do is after you clay a section, you'll take the bar. And with this car being brand new, there's not a ton of contamination. If your car is a year or two older, then you'll notice a lot of gunk on the clay bar, but reknead it, and then make another patty, trapping any contamination. And it's important to do this because there might be a speck of dirt on there that, maybe I don't see. And the last thing I want to do is grind that into the paint. So take your soft microfiber drying towel and then wipe off the clay lubricant. And it's really important that you use high quality towels. When you buy a brand new car, like I was saying, buy new wash mitts, buy new drying towels, and buy new microfiber towels for every application, for every purpose. If your spouse is upset because you just spent a ton of money on a car, then you're buying detailing supplies, this is part of the purchase. So, and if you get any residue left behind from the clay bar, just take the clay lubricant and just spray it on the surface, because sometimes if the bar grabs, it'll actually leave a little bit of residue. So that's the advantage of using the clay lubricant. So I'm going to repeat this process over the hood, then I'm going to polish it and coat it, and then we're actually going to do the entire vehicle as part of a live feed that's coming up. So make sure you check that out too for live, uncut, detailing how-to class. So, but for this, I'm going to finish the hood, then we'll start polishing. So once you're completely finished claying the vehicle, then it's time to polish. So following the trend of, even though it's a brand new car, you have to clay it, you have to use an iron remover, all of that is imperative, and the polishing step is arguably the most important now. This car, even though it's new and it has low mileage, it actually has some imperfections in the paint. So there's some very light water spots, and there's real shallow swirl marks, which were likely induced by the dealership when they washed it. And I found out that the owner of the vehicle actually applied Hydro Blue when he first got it, so that's why it was beading water so much. Fortunately, the dealership did not apply any kind of coating on the vehicle. My friend just was using Hydro Blue because he couldn't resist. Moving forward, so polishing is very simple. With this car being in relatively great shape overall, there's no need to use an aggressive polishing compound. If this car were older, or if the swirl marks were more severe, then we would start using McKee's 37 Complete Swirl Remover. However, with this car being in pretty good shape overall, we can actually skip right to the finishing polish. So this is lightly abrasive, it's very easy to apply, it's not going to be hard to remove, it has a long buffing cycle, it's easy to wipe off, it's not like the polishing compounds that you grew up with. Using this is simple. The most common question is, can I apply it by hand? Yes, absolutely. However, the machine speeds things up considerably. I'm going to showcase the Flex XCE. This is a forced rotation dual action polisher. So dual action means the pad rotates and it oscillates. And what makes this tool unique, besides the fact that it's extremely high quality, it's made in Germany, and it's powered by a lithium-ion battery, this is a gear-driven forced rotation tool. And what that means is that the pad never stops rotating. You don't want the pad to stop rotating. With this tool, the pad always rotates, so it actually has a lot less learning curve compared to a traditional polisher like a Porter cable style, like the 7424XP. So with this tool, you want to work on an area about 18 by 18 inches. With this hood having this fancy design, what I'll do is I'll take this hood and I'll divide it. I'll use this section right here to apply the finishing polish. And what I have here is a foam polishing pad, the Redline white pad on the Flex polisher. And it does not take a whole lot of polish. That's one of the many benefits of McKee's 37 Complete Finishing Polish, which, by the way, this is exactly what Wayne Carini's guys use at his shop, F40 Motorsports. Wayne Carini is a partner in the company, and they wet sand, cut, and buff a lot of cars, and then they follow with this system. So if it's good enough for Wayne Carini, it's good enough for you. So I have a couple drops in the pad, and put the pad flat on the surface. And this tool, it's ergonomically designed. It doesn't weigh that much. It's actually pretty light for what it is. You have variable speed, you have a trigger lock, and the trigger itself is sensitive to how hard you push, so you can start on a slower speed so you can spread it out. And then otherwise, you have this nice rubber grip right here, so the machine is very comfortable and very easy to hold on to. So I'm going to start out at a low speed just to spread out the polish on my area. And then what I'll do is I'm going to crank it up to speed 5, and I'm going to perform what you call a section pass. So I'm going to go side to side, and then up and down, and then I'm going to do this about 5 or 6 times, and as I work the polish, you'll notice it'll turn from a grayish white color more to a translucent. That means the abrasives are breaking down. Never lift the machine off the paint until the pad stops spinning. So this tool is awesome. It's buttery smooth. You know, I'm often asked the question, you know, do I have to worry about burning through the paint with this tool? And the answer is no. Even on raised body edges like this, since it is a dual action polisher, it doesn't generate that much heat compared to a rotary or circular polisher that just spins in a circular motion. So after you work it in, put your machine down, and then again, the same trend. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it's important that I drill this into your head. Have new towels. Use high quality towels. Take your towel, and then this polish wipes off very, very easy. Besides having the highest quality abrasive technology that you can buy, it's also really easy to wipe off. If you're watching this video and if you were born in the 40s or 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, and you've used compounds in the past that are like wiping off concrete, that's not the case with this. This wipes off as easy as the most expensive waxes available. So basically, I'm going to repeat that process section by section until the hood is complete, and then we'll use a coating prep spray to strip the surface. But even though this car is brand new, just the small area that I polished, it really enhanced the depth, the color, and the clarity of the paint, because when you put that coating on there, the coating will lock in everything that's on the paint. So I'm going to repeat this process, and then I'll see you at the next step. That looks really good. Now you'll notice when I was buffing my arm speed, I wasn't going really fast, and I also was not going really slow. If I were removing swirl marks or scratches using a more aggressive product, I would slow down my arm speed and I would put more downward pressure. But since I'm just polishing, I'm going at a medium speed with about 10 pounds of downward pressure on the tool. And I'll wipe off the polish, and then we'll get on to the next step. And another huge, huge benefit of the forced rotation action of the Flex XCE is that this hood, when you look at it, and during the video footage, this hood is very, the design is very complicated. So it's very stylish. Body panels go up and down. There's peaks, there's valleys. With a standard dual action polisher, a free spinning unit, the pad would stop rotating on these areas where it dips down. The XCE will never stop spinning, so that's one of the many benefits of the forced rotation, is it ensures you're polishing all the areas and you're not just skimming over the surface. So the term for that is uniform material removal. That's where the XCE really excels. So after you polish the vehicle, the next step is to stop using these towels, switch to new towels, and you're going to use a coating prep spray. Now, the coating prep spray is the last step before you apply the coating. And what the coating prep spray does is it removes polishing oils from the actual polish. All polishes, there's oils, there's lubricants, and there's solvents that suspend the abrasive particles. And these solvents, oils, and lubricants, what happens is they will prevent the coating from adhering to the surface. So the coating prep spray encapsulates the oils, it dissolves them so you can safely wipe them away without scratching, and it also provides lubrication so you don't scratch the surface. You'll see a lot of videos online. Some detailers will recommend using an alcohol spray, and the issue with alcohol is that it's a very poor lubricant. So the coating prep spray has lots of lubricants in it, because the last thing that you want to do after spending a couple hours polishing your paint is to use something that has poor lubrication. So you spray an ample amount on. This product smells really great, like everything else we make, and it wipes off with ease. So you can see how there's no streaks and there's no smears. So I'll repeat this process over the entire hood, and then I'll apply the coating. But however, if I were doing this entire vehicle in the real world, I'd polish the entire car, and then I would use the coating prep spray. But since we're kind of breaking this up into 2 days with a live broadcast, which you have to check out because it's uncut, unedited, unfiltered, we're going to do the rest of the car. But for now, I have to finish this hood. So it's great to have a light like this, and the reason why, besides showcasing any swirl marks, meaning the true condition of the paint before you polish, it's also great to inspect your work afterwards. And the reason why is because after you've been in the garage for a couple hours, maybe you're tired, maybe it's warm, your attention to detail starts to go downhill just a tad. Having a light like this, it allows you to check to make sure you have any streaks or smears that need to be removed, or a smudge or anything like that. So these are worth their weight in gold, and this is the Scan Grip brand. It's extremely high quality, and what I especially like is that it's magnetic, so when you're on a steel surface, it'll actually stick to the panel. Then you can tilt it, And you can actually do this as you buff or polish to help keep an eye on things, but these lights are awesome. So, you know, one thing I want to point out, when I was using our coating prep spray, you notice that I'm not wearing a respirator, I'm not coughing and hacking, and that's because of high quality solvents and high quality surfactants in that formula. A lot of the other guys' stuff, when you spray it on, it'll empty a room. So good chemistry matters. Now, it's time to apply the coating. Save the best for last. Now, at this point, you've been in your garage for a couple hours, you've been doing this process. The coating is the easiest part, believe it or not. Not that any of this was actually work. I mean, come on. I'm polishing a new Camaro ZL1 in a nice garage. But applying the coating is really simple, but it's also the step that most people become apprehensive about because, you know, the Graphene Pro Coat 2.0 by McKee's 37, this is a 10-year coating, but it's also very user-friendly. So it's a 2-ounce bottle, which means there's enough in this little tiny bottle, believe it or not, to completely coat this Camaro twice. It is a 1-coat coating, so we don't need to apply 2 coats, but the owner of this vehicle also has another vehicle, so he gets twice his bang for his buck, and he can coat 2 vehicles with it. Now, applying it is simple. First off, remove any old towels so you don't mix them up, and you have a dropper, and you simply apply a few drops to an applicator pad, like so. And this is a specially designed coating applicator pad. It has a unique crimson foam, and there's a barrier right here that prevents the coating from seeping past it. So you maximize your product. And when you have a new applicator pad like this, you'll tend to use a little bit more just to prime the applicator pad and to get enough product in there. But this is really, really easy. So normally a hood would be considered 2 panels. However, with this power dome hood, because you have that big fire-breathing V8 underneath the hood, I'm actually going to divide this into 3 sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this area up to that body line. I'll coat the power bulge hood, and then I'll coat the other side. But depending on your vehicle, if you have a normal car like a Honda Accord or a Toyota Camry that just has a flat hood and the hood it's not massive like this, you can actually coat half the entire hood, wipe it off, and then coat the other half. But really user-friendly. So the way you apply this is when you start out, you pretty much outline the area that you're going to work on, like so. And you want uniform coverage, so that's why when I got to the front there, I just kind of spread it out a little bit. And after that, you simply go up and down, and then you'll go side to side. And you want the applicator to glide across the surface. If it's too grabby, that means you do not have enough product on the surface. And you'll see a real nice thin film. And as you apply it, it's going to turn to a rainbow effect. That's the coating flashing. And once again, you'll notice that I'm not wearing a respirator or a mask. And the reason why is because this coating, it is a high quality chemistry. Now granted, if I were detailing cars, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, yes, I would be wearing a mask and gloves. But for doing your own car once a year, once every couple of years, it's really not a big concern. So of all the coatings in the market, this one has the least offensive smell that I've observed. And trust me, I've used them all. We've done our due diligence with this product. And you might be wondering, well, you say 10 years for the longevity. How do you get the 10 years? Well, you ever wonder why coating manufacturers don't say some odd number like 4 years, 12 months, or 4 years, 11 months, 12 days, and 6 hours? Well, the reason why is because it's based on trial and error with various formulations and abrasion resistance, chemical resistance, and then how many times you can wash it. So this coating, when we say 10 years, it's actually conservative. For all intents and purposes, this coating is permanent. It'll never wear off. But when you say the word permanent on the website or on the bottle, it scares people. So after you apply it to a section, take a high quality microfiber towel, and I always like to take my towels and just shake them out. It's best to wash the towels before you use them if they are brand new, except don't wash them with your old towels to avoid cross-contamination. Flip the towel to a flat weave side. You do not want to use a fluffy weave side for the initial wipe off. And this coating wipes off super, super easy. I have my towel folded 4 ways, and I'm taking short, firm strokes, and it comes right off. So basically, by the time you finish applying it to a panel, and remember this hood is considered 3 panels in this car, by the time you finish applying it to a panel, and you go and you take a sip of your Mountain Dew or your coffee, or you yell at the wife to bring you a drink or a sandwich, it's time to be wiped off. And when you're wiping off a coating, It's really important that you work in a well-lit area. It's great to have one of these lights handy, or a flashlight works well too, but these guys are much better. And then after you wipe off a section, take your towel and flip it to wipe off any excess, because what will happen is if it builds up on your towel, meaning you don't flip your towel often enough, or you just try and get away with using one towel for the whole car, the coating will build up on the towel and you'll essentially smear it around. So after you wipe a section, flip the towel over and then buff off any excess. And it's also really important to pay attention to adjacent body panels, because as you wipe it off, there's a chance you might actually apply some to the adjacent panel. And one thing I like to do, if you've watched my video where my wife and I applied the graphene coating to her Jetta, is the buddy system, which we'll also showcase with our live feed. It's great to have a friend, a child, a neighbor, a grandparent, whatever it is, a spouse, come out, a second set of eyes, especially a fresh set of eyes, and just look the car over with you to make sure you didn't miss any spots. After I've done that, I'll flip the towel to the fluffier side, and then I'm just going to perform a very quick final wipe to ensure that all excess residue has been removed. And at this point, the way it works is inside this coating bottle, you have a carrier agent, and then suspended in that carrier agent are the graphene nanoglass particles. And what happens is when you apply it back and forth and up and down and side to side on the panel, the graphene resins, they fill in all the pits, pores, and valleys on the surface. And then the carrier agent, it flashes. You get that rainbow effect. So you wipe off the carrier, and what's left behind are the actual graphene resins. And the reason that coatings are so much glossier than a wax is because it's a much harder, much smoother film across the paint. So that's how you get that crisp, clear reflection. And one thing I want to point out real quick is in the owner's manual for this Camaro, it says explicitly, do not wax this power dome hood. And the reason why is this is actually a heat extractor. So this 6.2 liter supercharged V8 produces a ton of heat. So what will happen is if you use a Carnauba paste wax, the heat coming out of here will actually cause a mottling or a hazing on this power dome hood. But a coating, you're not going to have that issue, because this has extremely high resistance to heat and to chemicals and everything above. So I'm going to repeat this process over the hood, but make sure you check out the live feed, which will include a link in the description for this. It'll be live, unedited, uncut, claying, polishing, prepping, and applying the graphene coating. But wait till you check out the after results for this Camaro. It's going to look absolutely stunning. If you like videos like this, click subscribe, turn on your notifications, and visit McKee's37.com. When you shop on our website, it supports videos like this. And then we have this beautiful showroom here. If you're a local customer, stop by and see us. I'm Nick Rutter. Take care, God bless, and have a wonderful day. Man, this car looks good. Holy smokes.